Hello, I'm Stan Hall. Welcome to this edition of Gwinnett Sports Commission's Get in the Game. I know that it's starting to look a little like spring outside. Flowers are blooming, people are out in the yards, birds are chirping. But before we get too excited about spring, hold on a second. We still have some hockey to play, and we're still playing right here in Gwinnett. Our Gwinnett Gladiators are heading back to the playoffs with great hopes of bringing home the championship this year. Today we're going to talk about the Gladiators and their season as we visit with their marketing director, Chris Peace. Chris, welcome to the show and thanks for being with us.
Stan, thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate you stopping by. And not only are you the director of marketing, you're also the public announce addresser. Is that right?
Yeah, let's see. I mow the grass. I also wash the coffee cups out after we have morning Java meetings. At this level, you have to multitask.
A little bit of everything, right?
My grandfather used to say, busier than an anteater stuck in a Waffle House dumpster.
Well, there you go, and that's mighty busy.
That's our staff.
That's mighty busy. Chris, let's talk about the organization. Of course, being a fan of the Gladiators, I know a little bit about it, but I want to talk to the people who are watching the show today who may not. Tell us a little bit about this organization. How long have you been in Gwinnett? Where did you come from, et cetera?
Well, this is our 9th season that we've been in the Gwinnett market, and the amazing thing about the story of this franchise is that it started in Mobile, and in that context, they were in a situation where they were willing, based on the potential they saw here in this market, to basically pull out of the Mobile market, come here, and spend a whole season trying to get everything set up, the foundation built to have the success that they have now. And for the 7th time in 9 seasons, to make the postseason is an extraordinary accomplishment, and certainly it harkens back to the fact that, again, the excellence that was established as a part of this whole operation, to come here to this market, to know that, again, Atlanta is basically a top 5 market. Gwinnett is the suburban jewel of this market, and to take that sort of mentality to a level that says we're going to invest in the community, we're going to be here a long time, and we're going to make certain that this is a winning program. Well, you know, after 9 seasons, I think we can safely say that this ownership group has done exactly that.
I think you know, I always wonder when a team is looking to relocate, as in the case with the Gladiators coming from Mobile. Right. Is that a situation where the eventual location that you come to comes to you, or is it vice versa, or is it just a combination of those
Combination of all those things, and I would imagine that if Toby Jeffries, our majority owner, in reviewing what he was going through in Mobile versus, again, what the opportunity represented, the population base here, pushing 5 million, again, a facility that is second to none, the arena at Gwinnett Center, we call it the spectacular arena at Gwinnett Center for a reason. It simply is one of those multi-purpose venues at that size that rivals any team in America in terms of, again, the facility, the ability to attract that audience that says, you know, this is a safe, fun, affordable, convenient environment. The free parking, I've always wondered why the arena at Gwinnett Center doesn't have that as a part of their logo, because from a sheer marketing standpoint, that's extraordinary, particularly for a venue that size, for this size city, to still offer free parking. Your furthest spot, you're probably going to walk 1,000 yards. You know you're going to have a secure, safe environment for the family. Whereas you take the comparable experience downtown, even though there's a certain area that is covered parking and whatever, if you choose, or if the overflow puts you in a situation, it's one thing to wonder whether your XM is going to still be in there with your GPS. You almost wonder if your car is going to be there. So we don't have that situation here, and it again puts us in a position where from a sheer marketing standpoint, it's absolutely beautiful to have that.
I've talked to some other people in the Gladiators organization, and they say it's always fun to watch the visiting teams come into the Gwinnett Arena and say, our place is not quite like this.
No, and they actually have, I think where we get them hooked too is that there's a quote-unquote street closed locker area and an equipment locker area. So you basically have your separate major league sort of facilities, and it actually does, hopefully it intimidates them just a little bit.
Well, there you go, and I hope it does as well.
Well, we did actually this year put up close to an 800 winning percentage at home, so 8 out of 10 times if you came to a home game at the Arena Gwinnett Center, the friendly confines have certainly paid off. This team has been spectacular.
Absolutely. In keeping with that sort of educating those folks who aren't all that familiar with the Gladiators and the organization, tell us a little bit about the league that they play in, the conference you're in, et cetera.
The ECHL has a long and storied history. And the funny thing about that is the acronym ECHL stands for East Coast Hockey League, which is again quite a confusion to people. We now incorporate teams across the nation. Last year we had a team in Victoria, Canada, so we were in the International League, not so much this year. And there's still plans to basically expand to that. We have 2 more teams coming, one in San Francisco and one down in Orlando. So in terms of the breadth of the ECHL, the reason why they stuck with that acronym, and it makes sense, it had established a brand internally to hockey.
Exactly.
This was where some of the better talent was coming from over the years, the legacies, the markets that have been developed. It made sense. However, it does, again, put you in sort of a confusing situation where even to this day, some of our media relations, we have to go out of our way to stress that it's not the East Coast Hockey League, that it's simply an acronym that still represents the past. I would imagine one day that there's a possibility, again, I think it was left open for sponsorship. I don't think anybody wanted to see the Walmart Hockey League, the WHL or whatever, but there was still the ability to say, all right, well, let's stick with this and see where this leads. And as we go through this process of, again, a national minor league AA, it's marketed as the premier AA hockey league in America. I think there's no doubt that they represent that. So there's a possibility that one day we need to sort of examine the whole concept of why we're ECHL. And we do have a little bit of a strange situation as we're going into this postseason. Our division in the South Division, there's a North Division and an Atlantic Division, and that's the Eastern Conference. Out West, not so many teams, so they're divided into a North and South, and that presents a little bit of a dilemma in the postseason, but they've figured out a way to work it out with the seedings and whatever, so it makes for a rather interesting postseason at this level of hockey.
Well, from a competitive level in the division you're in, who are some of the other teams that are in this, and who are your main competitors as far as strength goes and things such as that?
Well, and geographically, the one thing that's nice is we have that bitter division rivalry with our closest franchise, which is up in Greenville. I like to call it the I-85 series, and hop on it in an hour and a half, 2 hours north. The other one, obviously, is Florida. Over the years has developed an extraordinary winning legacy to their program, and they have the added benefit of having quite a rabid fan base, partly because of the Canadian snowbird population that they appeal to down there. And you know, again, in terms of where we've seen sort of a expansion, I've noticed that Cincinnati became quite a nice little rivalry for us this year. We play a team in Elmira, New York. Interesting little side note, the team actually endured a hotel fire while they were up there this year. So it's been one of those kind of odd seasons that has all kinds of little side
Coincidence
stories.
or not, right?
Yeah. I like to joke that I'm not superstitious. I'm just average-stitious.
Average-stitious.
And there is sort of this feeling that you don't want to jinx the season by saying anything about it's just been one of those it has a feel to it that's hard to describe. And when you've been through as many as I have, there's something very, very special about this team and something very, very special about this season. And last night down in Florida to clinch our South Division, and now we'll have one more banner, folks, up there in the spectacular arena at Gwinnett Center, our 5th banner, because the boys did it last night.
Good.
And we're headed on to the postseason.
Let's talk about that affiliation. You mentioned it was the premier AA league or whatever. But, you know, when people are thinking about baseball, they know that the Gwinnett Braves or the AAA. Talk about that as far as how you have an affiliation, I'm assuming, with the National Hockey League and who those teams are.
The two that we have an affiliation with this year, I know that the Thrashers have moved on to Winnipeg. It's always a sore subject in this market. But we were able to, fortunately, develop 2 affiliations to put a tandem affiliation together with both Buffalo and Phoenix. The Coyotes, again, geographically, that's not quite the situation that we've certainly had over the years with the Thrashers being just down I-85. In a way, the irony may have been that that carrot was so close that part of that, that ability to put a player here in Gwinnett on the premise that they were just up the road from the show may have complicated things. The one that seems to have produced this season particularly, the sort of talent that we always look for, is Buffalo. The Sabres have put several players in our mix that have not only produced but have actually, from a sheer marketing standpoint, have appealed to some of the local fans that, again, just as with any organization, whether if it had been Boston or anywhere else. There is a group of people that actually still maintain their allegiance from transferring down here, and there's quite a formidable group of Buffalo Sabres fans, New England Patriots, whatever, that have transferred their allegiance to us because of that, and that's always made it sort of a fun little thing to have as a core group that now supports the Gladiators that probably weren't even tuned into us before.
Let's talk about not just Buffalo, but let's talk about the Northeast, and then let's talk about the Southeast, and
Gotcha.
let's talk about hockey, let's talk about football. How tough is it, Chris, in the South to still sell hockey?
It's like taking grits and greens and going up to Manhattan and
trying to sell that,
and
right?
selling that on the street. You know, again, hockey becomes one of those. Let's put it this way. Based on the way you put that premise out there, a long time ago, we realized that the hockey culture in the South is not something that we can outmarket in any way, would never ever think of doing it. But the bottom line is we're not really selling hockey. That's the amazing thing to try to get across to people. What my competition, direct competition for a fan who's going to spend $20 or less, our highest price ticket is $21, that's basically my competition across the street at a restaurant, taking the family out for a nice dinner, or taking them to a movie, or going to a putt-putt golf course, a arcade setting. That's where we are competing in terms of the dollar that we want you to spend with us for a first-class, family-friendly, affordable sports entertainment experience. And football, because of its cultural appeal here, I think the best way to put that is I grew up in Los Angeles, so I came from that era of, I can remember taking my allowance and asking for an advance so I could get the number 44 from the kid that got it. So I wanted to wear Jerry West's number. I can remember, I'm so old, I remember back, Stan, I remember back when we had an NFL team in Los Angeles.
I remember it as well.
Roman Gabriel, Deacon Jones, Hacksaw Reynolds, Merlin Olsen, that era.
Yeah.
Of course, the Dodgers, and you see the brand that they've become, and the first $2 billion deal for a team, for a professional team. So that era of professional sports being very important to me as a boy growing up. Hockey, when it finally came to Los Angeles, was as foreign as grits and greens in Manhattan. However, I had a father who was raised in Connecticut who actually exposed me to it. So as foreign as it was, the problem is that I would go to a Lakers game and I could see Lou Alcindor before he changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I could relate to what it was to be wide open and take a shot. I could go to a Dodgers game and watch Steve Garvey at first base take that hot shot and know what it feels like to go, please don't hit it to me, please don't hit it to me, please don't hit it to me. I could relate to what it was like to be out on a cool fall day and have a long pass coming, then did he lead me just enough? Or there was that physical relation. I did not have it with hockey, and the irony is that, again, I've just named off some players that stuck in my mind over the years. I can't name you one going to LA Kings games that I remember. Later on when Gretzky played there or whatever. But that, to me, is, again, why it's so difficult in the South, because it's not part of the culture. It is in Canada, it is in the Northeast. They play it as youngsters. They know what it feels like to strap on the skates, come down the right wing, tearing down there with the puck and try to put a top shelf shot over the goaltender. I guarantee you in this part of the country, more than 90%, probably almost 99 with a little arrow over the 9, have never played the game. And that, again, becomes part of the dilemma of marketing a sport that there is no real physical relation to. There is not a person that doesn't come to a hockey game that doesn't walk away saying, we don't, and again, this isn't just surveys, this is actual feedback that we get consistently, that the speed, the grace, the talent, the amazing part about hockey is that it has a military origin, so the fighting even becomes one of those things that as you get exposed to hockey, you realize that it has absolutely nothing to do with the slapshot goonish mentality and stereotype that's been assigned to it. 2 weeks ago, our team captain, Paul Flash, literally changed the complexion of our game by saying these boys are lethargic, they're not quite there today, I don't know why it is, so I'm going to have to go take the biggest goon on their side, and I'm going to have to go throw a few. They get taken out for 5 minutes. That's 1/12 of the entire game that you pay a penalty, that you're no longer going to be a part of the action. So fighting is not something that's simply done gratuitously. It's not, It's not what it has been portrayed over the years, and it's also been an evolution in the sport. It actually does give you the ability in hockey. That's one of the things why I guess most people admire it so much, is it does give you that ability on that intimidation level to be able to say, I'm not just going to get in your face. I'm going to tell you we're dropping the gloves and you and I are going to go at it. There's a penalty to be paid, but let's do this. And in terms of momentum, in terms of mindset, in terms of so many of the emotional, it can take Uncle Mo and go, you had it, we're taking it right back.
Method to the madness, right?
Absolutely amazing.
And continue that conversation a little bit about the about the sale, if you will. And you made mention of the fact a few minutes ago about the Thrashers leaving town.
Right.
And of course, we know before that we had the Atlanta Flames here who also left town.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the second departure has occurred on the NHL level, how has that affected you as being literally the only game in town as it applies to hockey?
Well, the only place we're going is right to the top of the standings.
There you go.
So we've done that this year. Where we tried to position ourselves, and we took this position in the offseason last year, we want to become Atlanta's fourth pro team. It's as simple as that. There are enough fans in the Atlanta market who have been left with such a bitter taste about the way the Thrashers deal went down. I think there's obviously going to be that period of time where I think the joke we made was, hey, let us show you our Atlanta spirit, and you know, that little play on words. Hopefully that resonates with those kind of fans that actually did have an allegiance, and that's something to worry about in terms of, again, how do you repair that sort of deep-set resentment as to what ended up happening. However, in terms of the hockey fans, we've seen it this year in the walk-up. We've seen that ability for them to say, I still admire hockey, I still want to be a part of hockey, and we've had some of that transfer to us. I think where we positioned ourselves is our trademark slogan this season was Atlanta's one and only. So that started to exactly. So that's what ended up happening, is it's a play on the whole concept of, you know, we are unique. We're truly unique in terms of the way we have to market ourselves with a commuter-based fan base. They have to come on a Wednesday evening. They would have to have the travel time to come and get the kids, to come and then get them home in time for school the next day. That's just literally not going to happen. So we have to focus on the weekends and providing that ability to say Saturdays, Sundays, Friday evenings. Fridays are difficult almost as much as a weekday to get the commute in. But again, in turning that to say to Atlanta, take hockey out of it, because once you get to that event, once you experience live hockey, we know for a fact that you're going to have a great time. You're going to be able to relate.
Right.
Even if you don't know the rules, if you're not familiar with them, it doesn't take long to pick up on what those kind of rules are. And what ends up happening, what we see so many times, is that again, in terms of what we're packaging and the fact that it is affordable, first-class, family-friendly sports entertainment, that being a professional team, which is what we are, we pay salaries, we operate on a $2 million budget. What ends up happening is that, again, I think the media has now started to appreciate the fact that it may not be NHL, but it is professional hockey, and it does deserve that legitimacy to say, okay, yes, we will at least maintain the scores, we will let people know. And what ends up happening is that awareness and that civic pride and the fact that we have established such a proud winning legacy. Everybody loves a winner, and I think that's exactly what's ended up happening this season, is there is that ability to say, they're a first-class professional team. I don't care if it is hockey. I don't care if it was tiddlywinks. I want to come there and be a part of this.
Absolutely. And in supporting that comment you made about becoming Atlanta's fourth professional team, you guys have been very quick to make a point of comparison. You know, come look at the crowds we have on a Saturday night, and compare that to another same sports season that might be in the Atlanta area. Let's see who had the most people show up, and you guys have been pretty strong about that. So.
Absolutely, and the one thing that's always been nice, again, I'll go back to the fact that our facility is one of the preeminent in America, one of the best multi-purpose venues that you could possibly operate out of. And again, in terms of that partnership and the way we've tried to put people in a position where they understood that the access to the arena at Gwinnett Center is, we've had to almost get it down to such a short, concise cell, because there's not that awareness of where that facility really is in terms of to a Saturday or Sunday drive. And anyone, whether it's down in Noonan or up in Woodstock, can now justify based on it's 11 minutes north of Spaghetti Junction. Oh, okay, well now that resonates, because if you were up in Woodstock and had to go downtown, my gosh, it's the same thing.
It's
the same thing.
It's exactly the same
and
thing.
Without the traffic, with the traffic problems that you encounter during weekdays, again, that does, of all things, if you can imagine, we can have a Friday promotion set up, and something as simple as a blown tire on Beaver Ruin Road can actually affect the walk-up attendance mightily, because if there is that prohibitive ability to get that vehicle into the lot, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. Chris, we're going to take a break and come back and talk a little bit more about the Gladiators and the season. We're talking today with Chris Peace, the marketing director for the Gwinnett Gladiators. Stay with us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back on Get in the Game. Welcome back to the show. We're talking today with the Director of Marketing for the Gwinnett Gladiators, Chris Peace. And Chris, before the break, we had talked a little bit about the history of the Gladiators, the league.
Right.
And I want to move on now as we finish up today and talk about some specific things that you guys are very proud of. And I'm certainly in awe about the work you put into your community involvement. Tell us a little bit about the passion that's behind that and the drive to stay involved in the community the way you guys have over the years. Not just recently, but for a long period of time.
Yeah, Stan, that is, that's actually the foundation for this entire model that brought this franchise and put this into work 9 years ago. Again, there was an appreciation for the fact that this is a business and it has to be profitable. But to be a part of this community and to have the community embrace you, there is only one way to do that, is to take your stewardship of that basic gift that you're given. To be able to operate a sports franchise, a pro sports franchise, means so much to the people that support it. The best way to describe it is you don't go into a grocery store, Kroger, sponsor of the Gladiators, and you see somebody with their favorite soft drink or potato chip on their t-shirt running down the aisles going, "I love X." You do see that with sports. That's just the nature of what you do. So you're not having a consumer be a part of your sports team. You've got a fan, and there's a big difference between that and that responsibility of saying to that fan, for that allegiance, for that support, for that enthusiasm, we are going to make an effort to reinvest in this community. And this team, here's the best headline I can think of: March Gladness, just in the month of March with this team. Starting off with the Pink in the Rink Cancer Awareness Weekend. The next weekend, it was the Big Wheel Rally, sponsored by the law offices of Gary Martin Hayes to benefit Keep Georgia Safe. Then the next week, we went through, after that game, actually, I missed one. It was our annual jersey auction. We have a commemorative St. Patrick's themed jersey. $37,000 that was raised during that post-game auction. Now, you could say that a percentage of that probably should have gone back to us to pay for those jerseys. No, the way that this organization and this ownership group has put in place the fact that these are the kind of things that we can do that go right back into the community. So in the month of March alone, culminating with our Fed by the Gladiators dining event at Northwoods Country Club, a total of $78,000 in 1 month went right back into the community. And in terms of, again, the relation to that, over the 9-year period, it looks like we're approaching the $1.7 million mark in philanthropic activity, which again, I guess the best way to describe that is how easy would that have been over the course of this 9 seasons for the minority owners and our majority owner, Toby Jeffrey, to basically say, let's put that into the bank account. They don't do that. And that's, again, take that conversion over the course of this season to starting off with our Hat Trick for Reading program that promotes literacy in elementary and middle schools, over the course of the teddy bear toss that's become such an annual tradition and such a cherished tradition locally. The next Coach for Kids campaign, the canned food drives. Over the course of the season, that ends up totaling somewhere in the neighborhood of nearly $200,000. So each season that this team operates in the Gwinnett community, that kind of money is put back in. And there's a actual benefit to both the community and to the Gladiators because it bonds us together, and it becomes those are those annual things that every year people look forward to the ability to throw that teddy bear on the ice, knowing deep down that that teddy bear may go to a child that's just been involved in a car accident, and the fact that you're the one, you may never know about it, but you're the one that actually had an effect to that level, and that's what we find so special.
I had the opportunity to go to a Gladiators game a couple of years ago with a nonprofit that I was affiliated in, and the Gladiators give out scholarships to just a variety of nonprofits all the time. On the event that I went, I was assuming it was going to be my nonprofit was the only one that was going to be there. I got there between periods. There was 20 people lined up,
Isn't that amazing?
Waiting to receive their scholarship checks, and it was just, you know, one check after another being distributed. I was completely impressed by that.
Well, we also do that with, let's say, the national anthem performance, where we get a choir to come in, and school choirs are actually the ones that they create such a great environment for the community to see your children, to have your grandparents and parents able to come to a game, and our Sing for Santa promotion where we do it at the Holiday Kids Concert. Those kind of things to allow, again, a group to come and say, we're going to participate in your game presentation. We're going to be a part of this actual event. And as a part of that, the Gladiators are going to tell you that if you do participate in this and sell tickets, we're going to give you a portion of that to go back to what it is that you do. And that's how we have an enormous effect in terms of our benefit to the community. It's one thing to win games. It's one thing to win championships and hoist banners. It's another thing to know that after the end of the season, you've been a good steward of the fact that you're actually on the benevolence of this community. We want to make certain that they understand that we look at it as much more than a business. It's a profound responsibility.
Absolutely is, and you guys should be commended for the work you do, and I know that many people in the community share that view as far as the Gladiators are concerned, so thank you for that. So, Chris, we've talked about history. We've talked a little bit about community involvement, so let's get down to business here. You made mention of the fact that you guys just clinched the conference last night. So how do we get to the Kelly Cup? Tell us the process.
Well, the boys still have a couple of games to finish out the regular season. Our first round division series, it looks like we obviously, by putting ourselves in such a good position, will be able to host the games on Friday, April 6th, and then Easter Sunday we have a game, which would be game 4 of that 5-game first round series, and then if we have to go to a game 5 if necessary, that'd be on a Monday. So hopefully, again, we can put that first round winning together. Obviously, the next round would go on, and as I said, I don't want to jinx this team.
No,
but
me either,
I'm looking at it as through that second round, this team does have that feel, as we've seen in past teams, that they are so focused on what it is that they need to do. The fact that in the last month of the season, there were several games where they were down 3-0 or down 4 goals and found a way to come back. And I think we had a preview of this coach, our new coach, John Robleski. It's his rookie season, but he, I believe, has had that intangible ability to instill in this group of players that his idea is that you're never out of it. The fact that a goaltender can get pulled, let's say with being down a goal, and you put in the extra attacker, it'd be kind of like the analogy would be for baseball, is pulling your center fielder and putting him in between second and first to have that extra infielder, and you're daring the batter to be able to put that one shot in the perfect place right down in center field.
Exactly.
So what you do in hockey is you pull your goaltender out, and then you have the extra man attacking. You generally do that with a minute or so less, and you generally do it when you're within a goal. Early on in the season, if I'm not, if my failing mind isn't gone blank, I believe we were down 2 or 3 goals within 3 minutes left, and he pulled the goaltender. Which again says, all right, we're not going to probably do this if we're at even strength, but let's give it a shot. Let's go see what we can do. And again, that set the stage. That sort of put, in an amazing way, you can look back from that point on and say that there probably always was a mindset. Maybe some people would be critical of that. But again, I think the recklessness of that gesture in terms of what it basically says from an inherent standpoint, that this team is not going to surrender no matter what, and they're going to do whatever it takes. Well, it's translated to here late in the season. We've seen the dividends, particularly as this stretch run down the regular season has gone through, and the fact that this team does not give up. That will serve them well in the postseason. So we're really excited about it.
As we move forward, though, again, without trying to jinx anything, how far away is the Kelly Cup from the time the playoffs start?
We need to go through this first round, then there's a second round division between the Atlantic and the North-South. So there's a semifinal series there. Then you would go to the conference championship, would be the third round. Now, the first round is best of 5. These the rest of the remaining are best of 7. That conference championship series, and then you go to the Cup finals for the Kelly Cup.
So it'll drag out about a month, maybe. So
yeah, and again, that's become one of those things. It's actually from a marketing standpoint, it's rather difficult to keep the. I look at it as needing an accordion effect a bit, and there's been some effort on it over the years that you don't want to be playing your hockey on Memorial Day weekend when most folks, particularly in Atlanta, Georgia, have Destin or Panama City on their mind.
Exactly.
You know, ice hockey is a tough sell. So tougher sell at that point in time. So there is the possibility, obviously, that come in late May, June, if we're into the Cup finals. Stan, I got to stop talking about this, but if you are in that point, it could be as late as early June that we'd still be playing.
Well, I will say this, Chris, talking about that 4 professional team concept again, I'm a big fan of the 3 professional teams we have here. I'm a big fan of the Gladiators, but what we really need in Atlanta is a championship. So let's go get one, brother.
Let's go get one, Stan.
All right. Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate your time. Hope you'll come back and see us again.
Anytime. I appreciate it.
That's all the time we have today. If you have questions or comments about today's show or ideas for future shows, you can reach us at the email or the phone number shown at the end of the show. Thanks for being with us. I'm Stan Hall. See you next time. And by the way, get in the game.